Welcome back to the channel. Today's lesson is a continuation of our last video in which we explored vertical movement across the strings on the guitar neck. In this video we're going to begin looking at string skipping as opposed to moving to adjacent strings, as I believe it's a little bit of a different beast to tackle. We're just going to have a quick word about movement today before we get into our exercises and see if there's any new considerations that we have to take into account when dealing with string skipping. But as always, there's a PDF in the description below of all the exercises we're going to cover, so you can download that before we get started so you can follow along. So when we're talking about string skipping, there isn't really anything new we can cover in terms of movement. All of the cues that we've talked about in previous videos, such as shoulder, elbow, forearm, wrist, and finger movement, those all still apply. The only difference is that when we're doing string skipping, the shapes that we have to hit are a little bit further away from each other, so the movement might not be able to be so continuous and smooth depending on what we're trying to play. For example, in this video clip here, we can see that my elbow is taking more drastic swings as my hand has to adjust to get to those high strings quickly. As well, you can see that the wrist angle is changing more often than in past exercises, and the fingers, while still trying to keep them close to the strings, are having to extend and bend a little bit more in order to compensate for those bigger leaps. The goal, though, as always, is to make sure that all parts of the movement chain are working in conjunction. That way no one part of our body has to take on more stress and pressure than the rest. This allows us to practice and progress with our playing without any kind of weak points developing, leading to future injuries. The first exercise we're going to look at today is taken from Miles Okazaki's Fundamentals of Guitar, which I have my copy right here behind me, and it deals with string skipping with special focus on the pick, trying to leap over strings with minimal motion. We're going to begin by anchoring our first finger on the 8th string on fret 5, and the other fingers are going to play 2 strings away, fret 6, 7, and 8. And when we alternate, it looks like this. Okay, after we repeat that a couple times, we're going to anchor our middle finger to fret 6. Now the remaining 3 fingers are again going to play on 2 strings away, so that's string 6. And in this case it'll be fret 5, 7, and 8. Alright, next we're going to anchor a 3rd finger, repeat the process. Fingers 1, 2, and the pinky are going to play on string 6. And then lastly, the pinky will anchor on string 8, and the other 3 fingers will play on string 6 again. Once you've done this on string 6 and string 8, you can move up to string 5 and string 7 and repeat the whole pattern. Repeat this for all string pairs until you get to string 1 and 3, and then we can reverse the process. We'll anchor a finger on the top string, and then moving notes will happen 2 strings lower. Repeat this pattern on the rest of the string pairs, working your way back to the lowest strings of the guitar. There's a couple of things you want to take note during this exercise. The first is going to be that your left arm is going to want to still hang into these positions that are most comfortable for it and are of least stress for your playing. So for example, in this first shape, there's a few different spots my arm wants to hang as I transition. When I anchor the second finger, it wants to hang much more naturally straight down right from the beginning. And actually it lifts ever so slightly as I go up to the pinky. With the third finger, similar thing happens. But but the lift is a little bit more to get this spread between the third finger and the pinky. And then finally, it hangs pretty much steady as the pinky is anchored. So see where your arm likes to fall, and try to avoid any tension in the wrist, as that's the kind of common area to put tension when we're playing these awkward shapes. The second thing you'll want to think about during this exercise is the pick. We have to spend a little bit of time on the right hand now that we're doing string skipping, and think about the technique that we're practicing. In the PDF, I have economy picking, style picking, in which every time we go to a lower string we up pick and we go to a higher string we down pick. However, you can flip this around if it's more comfortable for you. The thing we really want to focus on though is making sure that we're doing minimal motion when we're picking. So we don't want our hand to be making large leaps. We want to be doing as small of movement as possible to avoid potential for mistake and to avoid fatigue. Now we could analyze our hand by watching it while we're doing the exercise, but I want to challenge you to not look and see if you can just feel out for what feels natural, comfortable, and easy for you. You can check in once in a while, that's okay, but it's always better to keep a better posture and develop a feeling for what you want to do, so you're not reliant on the visual aspect of the guitar. Our second exercise is going to deal with just playing a chromatic scale in open position in octaves. That would look something like this. And so on and so on. We're going to change one little aspect though to make it just that much more challenging, and that is that every other note pairing that we're going to play, we're going to reverse the octave. So in the first one we can go up like normal, but the second one we're going to descend. Ascend, and then descend. Once we've ascended up to the 5th fret, we can descend again to get back to our lowest string. Now this one is quite a bit harder than the last one, so make sure you take it very slow. And again, if you can do your best not to look, that will always be beneficial in the long term, to have your fingers be able to play these notes and know where they are without relying on your eyes. Now, if you want an easier version of this exercise, just stick to the normal ascending one way, or descending one way. It'll be a little bit easier to worry about the picking because it'll be more constant. And you can also choose if you want to do down, up, regular alternate picking, or economy style picking like we talked about earlier. I just want to quickly interject and let you know that I now have available slots for Zoom lessons online. You can find the links in the description, and hopefully there's some sort of package that works for you. If you've never taken a lesson with me, I offer a free 20-minute consultation lesson in which we can go over maybe some of your goals and playing aspirations, and if I will be a good fit to help you along your journey. My goal in teaching is always to teach my students what they want to learn, and on top of that, how to learn on their own in the long run. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you, feel free to send me a message for more information, or just sign up for that free 20-minute lesson where we can chat about it. For our last exercise today, I've written a short etude that deals with string skipping in a little bit more of a melodic fashion. It's based on open triads in C major, and it cycles through all of the chords in fourths. There's a few extra notes that I've added in there just to make the harmony make a little bit more sense, but that's what it's based on. And here it is a little bit slower. The temptation in this one, at least for me, is to use some sort of hybrid picking. So that's using your middle or ring finger in addition to the pick, just to hit some of those higher strings so that you can avoid those big jumps. But let's see for this exercise if we can just isolate it to the pick. And that way we have to force the accuracy and development of the picking technique. You'll also notice the left arm moves quite a bit in that one. There's a lot of shapes where we have to pull the elbow up to rotate the wrist. There's a lot of finger jumping around where we have to quickly pull in the fingers in order to get to a higher string or to a lower string by extending the finger without much other movement, just because it happens too quickly for some of the larger parts of the arm to move and help. So take this one slowly, and if you understand these concepts of open triads, feel free to make your own etude. It's really fun and a good challenge to do, and you can experiment with different harmony as well, and it's a great way to learn the notes of your fretboard. So that's it for this video and vertical motion, at least for now. In our next one, we're going to pick up this idea of movement again with diagonal motion. So that's going to be moving horizontally and vertically at the same time across the neck. So that's all from me for now. I hope you have a great rest of your day and happy practicing.